Hey, what's going on everybody? I am back with episode 5 of my What If Pokemon Were in Monster Hunter series. First off, I just want to thank everyone who helped me reach my first goal here on this channel of hitting 1,000 subscribers. It took a little bit of time, but we finally did it, and we're actually over, I think, 1.3 thousand now as I'm making this video here, which is awesome. It's super rewarding for me to finally get some momentum going here. So again, I just want to say thank you to all of you who are part of the community now. It's super awesome to see. But now with that out of the way, let's get to this Rampardos redesign here. So first off, Rampardos as the Pokemon, super cool design. You know, it's a dinosaur. Can't really go wrong with that. More specifically, a Pachycephalosaurus. So when I was, so basically I have a list, right, of kind of all the Pokemon I have in mind that I want to redesign for this. I might not get through all of them, but Rampardos was on the list, and I didn't really have like anything set in mind. I was just kind of laying in bed one night, and then it kind of just hit me. I was like, of like what I wanted the design to be like, because like I kind of just brushed over. It's like, oh, Rampardos, whatever. But for some reason, I was just laying in bed, and the idea just hit of like how cool it could look. So I just really wanted to get this one going here. I didn't have really any trouble with designing it. I mean, basically my Josh White logic here is if it's got spikes, just add more spikes and it'll look even cooler, you know? If it's got armor plating, just add more armor plating, it'll look cooler. So that's kind of just what I did here. I just basic theropod looking, you know, creature here. Threw on a lot more spikes. I totally forgot before I went and referenced the Rampardos here that it had kind of like that ridge on its back, which I think turned out pretty cool as like a little bit of like a sail, just to kind of change up the silhouette and make it look a little bit different and kind of stand out, which I liked. Let's see, didn't really have trouble with anything. I guess just like that black ring around its helmet. I just kind of you'll see once I start coloring it, I just turned it into like these little tough small scales there, like along its like helmet or whatever you want to refer to it as. But yeah, in terms of, I think the coolest thing about this would be like how the fight would go, right? So in Monster Hunter, my idea was instead of it just smashing you with its skull, what it could do is blast damage. And the way the fight would work is, so like ecology, lore, whatever you want to call it. So like the Rampardos, what it would do based on, it lives in like volcanic regions or anywhere there's like rocky mineral deposits and stuff. And my idea was kind of like how the hunter sharpens its weapon with a whetstone. What the Rampardos does is it kind of grinds its skull against like these special mineral deposits that kind of keep it, quote unquote sharp or whatever you want to call it. But also these special mineral deposits, the dust that gets grinded off, kind of stays on its head there. So then when it goes to attack and it smashes up against you or whatever, it kind of like ignites like sparks, and the special mineral causes the explosion when it impacts. So I thought that would kind of be like a cool idea for like how the fight would go. And basically, like just like how as a hunter your weapon would lose its durability and you have to sharpen it, like throughout the fight, the Rampardos, the explosions would get less and less, and it would kind of run off to go to these rock formations or minerals or whatever, and it would start grinding its head away there, and that would be a good opportunity for the hunter to kind of lay in the damage. So that was just a cool concept that I had in mind there. But yeah, you can see the design is pretty much finished here. Rampardos, the Skull Crusher Wyvern, Monster Class Brute Wyvern, Element None, Ailments Blast and Stun, and Weakness Water. So with this one out of the way, let's get on to the next redesign. Okay, so here we have Noivern. Yeah, basically what you're going to see here is straight up Nargacuga, but instead of it being a panther dragon, it's a bat dragon. I mean, straight up Nargacuga, I just pretty much replicated its kind of silhouette and everything, because that was kind of like the first monster that popped in my head that I thought would be like a good reference for Noivern and how I wanted it to look. Pretty basic stuff here with the design. I didn't really change too many things with it. I mean, obviously the Pokemon, like its ears are a lot more, looking like, speakers. so I didn't quite make them look as prominent like that. You know, I made them look like more actual ears. I mean, I still kept like the little rings inside, you'll see. But yeah, this one, super simple design. Not definitely not my favorite that I've done. It turned out solid, but just not one of my favorite designs I've done. I don't know why. Maybe it's just too simple or something. But it's still cool and all. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe y'all let me know what you think. If I should have, I kind of think maybe I should have added more. Just kind of done my own thing and switched up the design, add some things. I don't know. You guys can let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, in terms of like the fight and everything, so Noivern, it's like the Soundwave Pokemon. I think that's what it is, the Soundwave Pokemon. So in like the way the fight would go in Monster Hunter, same kind of thing. It would shoot out these bursts of sound waves, which would be like Dragon Element. Even though like I based off of like Nargacuga, Noivern itself would be a lot more of an aerial fight. It'd be flying around and everything. Pretty straightforward. The tail, I figured, could be used as like an attack for bleeding, obviously because it's a bat. So the first thing I thought was like vampire bat, blood, blah blah blah. You know how it goes. So yeah, and in terms of like where it would inhabit, I mean, it'd be a nocturnal creature and it'd dwell in a lot of caves and caverns. I guess forests. I don't know in Pokemon where Noivern really kind of lives at. I think it's just a basic forest or cave creature. So kind of the same thing like that in Monster Hunter. I do like the color palette though of Noivern. It's pretty cool. I like the dark grayish black there with that green and the red. It's pretty cool looking and unique. But yeah, I don't really have too much to say about this. So let's just let the drawing finish up here, and then once it's done, I'll get back and we'll wrap this one up. So there you go, Noivern, the Soundwave Wyvern, Monster Class Flying Wyvern, Element Dragon, Ailments Bleeding, and Weakness is Ice. Alright, and now let's get on to the next one. Okay, so here we have Terrakion. I feel like this one's kind of like out of left field. Probably not something that most people would think of as one that I would redesign for Monster Hunter. But that's kind of why I wanted to do it, because it's got a really cool looking Pokemon, and I just thought it'd be cool to redesign it for Monster Hunter and just do something different from the dragon or a dinosaur or anything reptilian. So you can actually see here with this sketch, I just kind of referenced I did like an original sketch. I didn't like how it looked, so then I just found this cool like fantasy bison creature, took that silhouette and then kind of molded it into the shape I wanted here. Decked it out in a lot of armor plating and stuff. This one was pretty fun to draw. So on Terrakion, I don't know what those little orange things are, after like kind of just like shoulder pads or whatever. So I kind of turned those into, I mean, go figure, a bunch of spikes around like its shoulders there, alongside its like rib cage to its thighs and everything. I kind of wanted them, since Terrakion is the cavern Pokemon, I kind of wanted them to sort of look a little bit like, is it stalactites or stalagmites? I don't know which is the one that grows from the ground. That's kind of just the idea I had in mind for those. So that's kind of what I did with those. I think Terrakion, I think it's a goat, right? Is that what it's supposed to be in Pokemon, like a goat sort of creature? But I just wanted to turn it more into like a bison. I just think bison are cooler, so that's kind of, I went with more of that approach here, like a bison or a bull or something. In terms of ecology, or lore, or ecosystem, or whatever you want to call it, so it'd honestly be kind of similar to Noivern and the like where it would inhabit. It's a cavern or cave creature, but I could easily see this being like even out in like the Wildspire Waste, or even forest possibly. I don't know. It'd travel all around. Maybe in herds or something. I don't know. Would it be too big to be in herds? Probably for Monster Hunter the game, yeah, I wouldn't travel in a herd, but in general, I think it'd probably be more of a herd creature, kind of like bison. I think if this would be a cool fight in Monster Hunter, it'd be fun just because it'd be one of those fights where you could just break a shit ton of parts off of it. Like, it would be so fun just to take a hammer and just smash off its horns and like the crests along its back, and then all those different spikes and everything. I think those are like often in like Monster Hunter, those are my kind of favorite fights, when you can just wail into a monster and just break. You just see all these pieces breaking off. It's so satisfying. So that's kind of how I figured like this fight would play out. Just a real break fest, you know, just having fun with that. I don't really have much else to say here. We're just throwing in the colors and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so let's just let this drawing play out here, and once it's finished, I will wrap this one up. So I'll see you in a bit. And there you have it, Terrakion, the Cavern Brute, Monster Class, Fang Beast, Element None, Ailment Stun, and Weakness is Water. And now we're getting on to the final redesign of this video. And now we're on to one of my all-time favorite Pokemon, Entei. Honestly, originally Entei wasn't even like in my thoughts about, you know, redesigning for Monster Hunter. It was actually not until I finished Terrakion, when I was just kind of looking at its silhouette. For some reason, it just kind of made Entei pop into my mind, and as soon as that happened, I was like, oh dude, for real, I gotta redesign Entei. That'll be so fun to do. So here we go, I'm working on it here. So I know in the Pokemon community, there's always this debate of, you know, Entei, Raikou, and Suicune, are they dogs or are they cats? Well, technically, the real answer is they're neither. They're the legendary beasts. They're neither dogs nor cats. But that being said, Raikou much more. Basically, Raikou is like the cat. Suicune much more dog-like, and then Entei is kind of like in between. It's kind of like a mix of like a lion and a mastiff. That's what I see in its design here. So yeah, drawing this thing was super fun. So Entei is the volcano Pokemon. So in Entei's design, you know, it's got those kind of back plates and everything, and then that kind of like symbolize almost like mountains or volcanic ridges, and then you have like its like the mane on its back is basically like symbolizes smoke. I always like that about Entei. It was super cool. So you can see on this Entei design, I just kind of kept that same thing where I kept those spikes. I made them a little bit more kind of rocky like, and then the back, you know, is still just big old wad of, you know, fur that extends down to its tail. This one was super fun to draw. Honestly, when I was kind of doing its shape here, kind of even instead of just like a mix of like, you know, like a dog or a cat or anything, I made it kind of extra bulky and like really gave it really thick fur. It almost kind of looks even almost like bear-like, which I kind of liked. Just this big, just bulky absolute unit of a monster. So on Entei, it's got those rings around its legs there, kind of like I always thought it was cool. It kind of like shackles, like it had been chained up. But you know, I couldn't really just throw on like metal shackles on a random, you know, monster. Like, how would that make sense? So I just kind of turned them into, you know, what I do. I put spikes around its legs there. Very typical of me. So yeah, honestly, the doing the coloring on this was fun too. You'll see I stick generally to what Entei's color palette is, but I also throw in a little bit of black into its fur. And kind of my reasoning behind that was, since Entei, is a volcano Pokemon, and obviously in Monster Hunter this would, Entei would inhabit, volcanic regions. I figured like the black there that I put in its fur was actually like ash that kind of stains its fur, because it's always just around volcanoes and there's so much fire, and it's erupting with so much fire that it gets to the point where over time the older an Entei becomes, the more black its fur becomes, because just the amount of ash and soot just stains its fur, because it just obliterates everything with fire everywhere it goes. And even in the fight, I thought it'd be cool in like Monster Hunter, where it uses obviously a lot of fire attacks, but there's just always like smoke rising up, so it's almost like hard to see a lot of the time where like Entei's going to be attacking you from. So it just messes with like your line of sight, and it just kind of gives it like a very ominous, like epic feel of like how the fight could go. So that was kind of just like my thought process with that. So we have the finished design here, and there you have it. Entei, the Lord of Eruption, monster class Elder Dragon, element fire. Ailments are Fire Blight and Blast Blight, and weakness is Water. But yeah, that's not it, folks, because I actually thought of a really cool idea when I was, like I said, when I was thinking about like, the fur thing, like how it would become more black over time as the Entei ages. So I got a little surprise for you here. Hold on one moment. Boom! We have our first variant, folks. Ashen Entei, the Black Lord of Flame. So yeah, my idea with this is, this is an ancient Entei. You can see its fur is completely black because it's lived for so long that its fur coat has just, stained with all the ash and everything. And my idea for the fight is, so you can see kind of the fire and like magma and everything kind of leaking up. So my idea for this fight was that Entei's almost like in and of itself like a dormant volcano, and when it reaches like this old age, eventually it gets to the point where, kind of think of it like a dying star, it'll eventually explode. So it becomes, there's so much power and energy built up that like eventually it will erupt, and it will cause such a massive explosion that it will completely wipe out all the endemic life in whatever zone or area. So like your task as a hunter is, when you see this thing showing up, like you got to get out there and you got to kill it before it explodes, because game over, man. Everybody's done for. So that was kind of like my idea for this fight, where it's like, you get that time limit, you got to get out there, you got to put it down before it explodes, because it's just Y2K, baby. So yeah, that was kind of my idea for this. I thought it was pretty cool. So yeah, I hope y'all like it. But yeah, that's it for this video today. Do me a solid, subscribe to the channel if you're new here and you like the content, because I will be posting another video here within next week or so for the next in this series. And do me a solid, like the video if you liked it, leave a comment down below. But yeah, that's it for me. I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace out.